Welcome everybody. This is Evelyn and I have my 4-deck read for you today along with some really cool messages that came up. And it's 2:31 on the clock, which is the spiral of the 2 to the 3 to the 1. It's also the 2 of the High Priestess, the 31 of the 5 of Wands. So there could be group events or conflict or the pursuit of happiness and games. It just depends on your perspective. So some really cool messages that came up this morning. The 2 reads are from yesterday. The first one is just that when I went out to pull cards yesterday morning from the SIRIAN STARSEED deck to set the tone or to see if I needed to deal anything from that deck, this cards started coming out 2 at a time, and it ended up being an if this, then that for the whole deck. So I'm going to show you the pictures and I'm going to give you the translation for all of them. So this was the first page. This was the second page. Okay, and it's down, so 2, 2, 2 down, and then the next row, and so on. And then here was the end of the deck. And then I did the read in front of you, which is my 4-deck read that I've been doing for you guys with the Journey of Love, the Metatron deck, the Nature's Whispers, and Shaman Dreams. And just so you can get a better visual of it, that it's on the table today. This is that read. Okay, nice and bright and clear today. So for those of you not familiar, the cards on the left are the underlying energies for the decks. And then 3 cards were pulled for each deck, and then I always pull out a pile, depending on what I'm guided to pull out, for numbers, for numerology. And you'll see the way the pile came out and the numbers, where they came from. So before I get into that, and we're going to roll the die as well, I just want to tell you about what I experienced this morning. So it's beautiful out today. It's beautiful. So I got up with Teddy this morning to take him outside. And he was running around. I usually take my phone with me to see what the sun's like, maybe take a picture, you know, see if there's any cool energies coming up. And I took some pictures of Teddy, and there was some light that streaked across him. And usually, as I've told you guys before, those are where the messages come from, when there's light that streaks in that makes it a little bit blurry. So I looked at the pictures more closely when that light streaked over Teddy, because I was seeing a face in his fur. So I looked at them closer. And I'll see if I can bring it up here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see the picture here, because Instagram does not translate the pictures well. I see them much better on my phone. And of course, you're not going to see it that well here either. But I'm going to show you the picture of the face, because I saw my daughter's face in Teddy's fur by his head. And then as I looked closer, I saw a whole bunch of other things. So here's the first picture I just want to show you. Let me get this light out of here so there's no reflection there. All right, so I don't know if you're going to see it really well, and you can't focus on both faces at the same time, but there's a picture of her face is right here, and it's leaning on like half a face over here of a man, and they both have headdresses on. So you can check out my Instagram pics, because I posted like 4 of them, so you can see better, you know, close up and then pulling far away where you can see the dog. And then here is the picture. I don't even know if you can see it very well on Teddy, but at least you can understand where it was coming from. So you see the whiteness of the man's face right here on Teddy's face. So I looked closer, and not only did I find the picture of my daughter's face with this other man energy, which was coming up as a king or emperor type energy. They both had headdresses on. But I also had a message from my little niece who passed away recently. Let's see if I can find oh yeah, here. I don't even know if you're going to be able to see it very well on here too. I was trying to use the different shadings to see if I could get it as clear as I could. But literally, this is capital letters. It's A, V, A, and there's a little bit of, then there's a little heart over here. So a little message from my great niece who passed recently. So really cool messages. I have to show you Teddy's butt too, because there was a, it looks like an Ethiopian flag, but it could be the Burmese flag as well, because they're very similar. But this is very clear. You'll see this. All right, where are you, Teddy's butt? Let me hold on one second. I just want to go into my favorites so that I can see better. All right, it's not cooperating with me. Let's see if we can get there. That's not the good one. Just bear with me for just 1 second. Okay. All right, so here's the picture of Teddy's butt. So you can see his tail. Here's the flag on his tail. You can see the star in the middle of the flag, and it's red, yellow, and green and blue at the top, or just green. The blue could just be the fur. And so it's coming up as either the Ethiopian or Burmese flag. And there's also a face of someone here, which also looks like a heart when I have that Ava picture. And then over here is some kind of writing. Okay, I don't know if you can see it. It's very hard to read on my camera, so I don't know if you'll be able to read it or not. Anyway, the flag also has a star in the middle, so if you want to reference it as the Israeli flag, you could, I suppose, if that's a message for you. And now I'm seeing it as Rock Who. I didn't look up that one before. RM or Rock Who. I have to write that down before I lose it. Rock Who. Okay. So, yeah, some really cool pictures. So I did some research on Ethiopia and Burmese to see what was resonating, and definitely there was the king from Ethiopia actually looked like that guy a bit from the Aksum ancient kingdom, and that was Izana, which was really weird because I kept saying he looked Asian, but my daughter didn't think he looked Asian. So it could be either one, because right, Burma would be Asian and Ethiopia wouldn't be Asian. There may be some Asian influence there, but the Ethiopian king was Izana, and one of the spellings of Izana is Asian, A-I-Z-A-N. So it's very interesting that that was coming up as an Asian energy. So, but also in Burma, which is now not called Burma anymore, Myanmar, one of the kingdoms was the Ava kingdom, and that was the 14 to 1500s. So that was interesting too, coming up. So that came up from Burma, but and also that was Queen of Sheba era, and then Ethiopia was coming up as the Izana period, and his name also looking like Asian, and also his mother was Sophia, which is a Sophia energy. So all of this stuff was coming up. When we looked up the picture of Izana, there was a stone statue online, and when I looked at the picture, the description had Matthew, which is my son's name, and March 2014, as I was showing my daughter, and her birthday is March 14th. So there's a lot of confirmations here. All right, so those cool messages. So from the decks First, let's go ahead and take our few deep breaths, and then I'm going to roll the die as well. But I do want to take a few deep breaths first. I was very excited, so I just need to calm down a little bit. I did clear and do that kind of stuff prior to the video, but I'm still excited now telling you guys about it because it was really cool coming through. So let's take a few deep breaths as I slow down. Take a deep breath. Another deep breath. And one more deep breath. Sending lots of love and blessings to you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're having as beautiful a day as I'm having. It's gorgeous out. I was doing my stretches outside this morning with Teddy. It was just a really beautiful morning. And, oh, I forgot too, this morning when we were out, usually Annika, our backyard neighbor, to the back, she's not usually out in the morning when I take Teddy out, but she was this morning, and she's a Siberian Husky, and they're so cute together, but she's much older than Teddy. Teddy's 1 and she's 9. But they have a fence between them. They've never been together. And today we planned a play date for them. And they were literally mirroring each other, you guys. Like every time they'd change positions, the other one did the exact same position. And then they do zooms back and forth across the yard, and they'd mirror each other again. It's really cool to watch it. So here we go with the 2 cards coming up. All right, so again, the pictures I showed you, the whole deck was dealt out 2 by 2, and I dealt them on the table downward. So there's 2, 2, 2, 2 going down, and then you start the next column going down. So this was a 1208. Oh, excuse me, no, it was an 1111. When I pulled these 2 by 2 cards. And okay, today's the 10th. So the 9th was the 9 of the Hermit, and the day added up to 26, which is the Page of Wands, which is that excited energy, like I feel like a little kid right now. And today would then be the Knight of Wands and the 10th of the Wheel of Fortune. And the Page of Wands is excited and inspired. The Knight of Wands gets things going. They light the fire under your butt, right, to get things done. It's also passionate energy. So at 11:11, I pulled the card from the SIRIAN Starseed deck, just for the energy of the day. And they were coming out 2 by 2. They were showing me pairings, and I ended up putting on the table 4 by 4. And it was coming up as the Divine Masculine root to the heart and the Divine Feminine heart to the crown. So again, you know how, the masculine's described as when you sexually come together, right? He begins the relationship at the root, right? Being sexually attracted as opposed to love. And the feminine starts at the heart, being in love as opposed to being led by their sexual energies. So it was confirming to me here what we're doing right now in the journey is the masculine is coming from the root, from that sexual place, to the heart, and the feminine starts at the heart and moves up to the crown. They're each 3 chakras, so there's that 3 coming in. And then I started this read. And then right as I started, it was 11:17. After I pulled the cards at 11:11, 11:17, a helicopter went overhead. So the 10 of Cups and the Ace of Pentacles came up first, which is family, love, and breakthroughs, and offer of a new life. So again, this is if this, then this. So if you have the 10 of Cups energy, you're creating the Ace of Pentacles energy. If you have family, love, and breakthroughs in this, or if you have family love, then you will have breakthroughs or an offer of a new life. And again, this is all according to the SIRIAN Starseed deck, which the pictures are very different than a traditional deck. So if you have the 5 of Pentacles, which is the 2 lovers out in the cold, then the Ace of Swords. So the Hermit in exile in a cold place leads to the truth not seen. It just is. Right? So the truth brings what's not seen out into the open. If you have the higher self energy or the High Priestess, it leads to the Queen of Pentacles, which, remember, the Queen is the 66, which is the Golden Gate, the spiral energy, and the Q is also conception, right, of the sperm and the egg. The higher self leads to groundedness, giving energy back to itself. So if you're in your higher self, this leads to giving energy back to you. The Nine of Wands and the Two of Pentacles then came up, which was into victim or victim mentality, leads you to surrender to all that is, right? It eventually will lead you to break down and surrender, or let go and give up. The Four of Pentacles, which in this deck is the Divine Masculine's heart in the Batcave, if you're in that space, it leads to the Chariot. The Divine Masculine's heart in the Batcave leads to the Chariot movement and ascension. If you are the Empress, or in this deck it's called Abundance, it's also representative of the mother and birthing, then you will have destiny of the wheel. Being the abundant Empress leads to high vibe destiny. If you have the Nine of Pentacles, the sovereign energy, then you will create the Three of Pentacles, which is co-creation. So sovereignty leads to co-creation, perhaps with others, and the Trinity energy. The the Seven of Cups leads to the Nine of Cups, so the Stairway to Heaven. And it skips the Eight of Cups because that's basically the steps to walk away. And then the Seven of Cups leads to the Nine of Cups, which is self-satisfaction. So the Stairway to Heaven, the spiral rising above, the steps take you, the steps of love lead to emotional sovereignty here. The Seven of Pentacles, which is the Divine Feminine's heart in the E-Tower, leads to the King of Wands. The Divine Feminine's heart in the E-Tower leads to the King of Wands shaman, the master of his passions, desires, and sunshine. There's also celebration coming up there, right? Being self-satisfied. Or excuse me, that was the one above. So again, this leads you to the King of Wands, which is mastering your passions and desires. And sunshine comes up with that as well. If you have the Six of Swords energy, which is very much of peaceful movement, moving to a peaceful place, then you'll create the indigo, which is peaceful play with quiet time, leads to the indigo diamond proposal. So again, peaceful movement leads to the indigo proposal in this deck. The Knight of Pentacles and the Seven of Swords is the Knight of Pentacles crystal proposal as opposed to the diamond proposal, leads to taking a risk to pass downloads, perhaps received, unafraid, in order to work together. This also could be friendships, help, practical proposal leads to taking this risk to pass downloads. The Moon leads to the shadow. So the night, romance, subconscious, or darkness leads to the shadow scene, or mastering your thoughts and words. The Two of Swords leads to the King of Swords. So knowing, floating, comfortably numb with peace of mind leads to mastering your thoughts and words, the King of Swords, and integrity here. The Lovers leads to the Two of Wands, or the Twin Flames, which, remember, that it's the two U's energy here of the 2 and the W of the Two of Wands. And also 2-8 came up here because the 28 is the Two of Wands and the Twin Flames. And literally 28 was coming up as 2 infinity. The number 2 as 2 and then 8 as the infinity. So the Lovers, or affection, leads to the Twin Flames. Being the divine lover of the beloved leads to the Twin Flame. And that was coming up right above that was the King of Swords, which is the man of light. The Sun leads to the world, or ascension. The fully energized and exposed bright light leads to wholeness, ascension in the world. The Emperor, or reasoning, leads to the Hierophant, or guidance. So reasonable control, or being reasoning, or in other words, thoughtful, tossing AI, false hands, or a fire, perhaps feeling arthritis, but it's the energy of Santa Claus tossing artificial intelligence. And arthritis, any pain in the hands, leads to the Sphinx, the Buddha guidance, the spiritual calling. And then we had just finished the World, which is the end of the cycle, right? And that one also is leading you to the new cycle, to start over again. She be the mother of abundance to her destiny. He be the father of reason to his spirituality. So the top rows was regarding the Ten of Cups happy family, leading to a breakthrough for the divine masculine in a bold move, and the twin flame taming the beast. The hermit in exile leads to the truth, the empress's destiny of peaceful play with indigo proposing. So then the next section, this will be the second page of pictures that I showed you. So the Ten of Pentacles is with the Five of Cups. So if you have the Ten of Pentacles abundant family, business, or community, that will lead to purging and grief in order to rebalance you, because remember, the Ten of Pentacles is the end of the deck. It's the ultimate fulfillment. But you can't sustain that kind of abundance every second of the day. It has to pull you to the other side in order to bring balance. So it can lead to purging and grief to rebalance that abundance that you have. The Four of Cups leads to karma. So wishing alone leads to the wake-up call of karma. The Page of Pentacles and Seven of Wands was the Page of Pentacles student, leads to rising above drama, perhaps with some dance or acting perhaps. And then the Starseed leads to the Page of Swords, which is the universal Mercury, or the message, or that Page of Swords child who likes to talk and spread the word. So being the Starseed, the activated crown, leads to the Page of Swords universal Mercury alchemist to deliver messages as well. The Page of Wands leads to the Star. The Page of Wands is inspired, excited child, leads to stardom, healing, and shining your light. The Queen of Wands leads to the Hanging Man. The Queen of Wands, sexy, creative show-off perhaps, leads to the Hanging Man to see a new perspective, a lesson in wisdom here. The Strength card here leads to the Four of Wands, which is the home or the union. The strength, the courage through the ring of fire. Again, birthing with a rebel yell, birthing a child or birthing something else, leads you to home, to the safe place, to the haven, perhaps without one equal and congruent to you. So the strength to lead you home on your own is the strength. The King of Cups and the Knight of Wands come up as the King of Cups, or unconditional love, or mastering your emotions, leads to lighting a fire to get going, or perhaps sexy time. The Ace of Cups and reflection come up as the Ace of Cups offering of big love, the Holy Grail, the womb heart, leads to the Hermit to reflect and be wise, to be one and all. Alchemy and Eight of Swords come up together. Alchemy, which is patience, balance, and weaving, blending, making two as one. One infinite leads to fear, anxiety, imprisonment, and distortion, and then, therefore, release of it. Okay? The Ace of Wands and the Eight of Cups came up together, where new passion or growth or creativity leads to the Eight of Cups of walking away and within, perhaps because there's a trigger there. Transition, or the Death card, leads to the Six of Wands. So transition, death, change, and dark night of the soul leads to success, attention, bringing good news and leading the way. The Queen of Swords brings divine justice. The Queen of Swords, the Lady of Light, the Master of Thought and Word, leads to divine justice, truth and balance, and alignment. And the happy face was coming up here. It's the two colons with parentheses around, and that was something significant that came up here, which I'll get into after I finish here. The King of Pentacles and the Three of Swords are the King of Pentacles, stable and wise and prosperous. Mastering manifestation leads to separation and or disappointment. So just like the Emperor, the Empress, or the Ten of Pentacles family, you can't sustain that peak of abundance, there has to be a rebalancing here. So there may, when you have everything, there are other ways that or other lessons that come up in your life that may cause separation or disappointment to allow you to continue expanding. The Eight of Wands brings up the Three of Wands. The Eight of Wands is the energetic exchange, the arrows of love, or just lots of back and forth, or busyness, leads to the Three of Wands of being present in the moment, to take it all in and stop for a moment, to appreciate your gifts, etc., with no need to wait, but just be, like learning to be still. The Ten of Swords and the Five of Swords came up together, where the great pain brings war, and ending the pain brings bliss. All right, so the war brings the end, which then brings the bliss. The Four of Swords brings the Six of Pentacles. So the Four of Swords, sleep, rest, and meditation and peace, brings the Six of Pentacles of sharing, being charitable, and settling out, or being more agreeable. The Knight of Cups brings the Six of Cups. So the Knight of Cups, being love, offering or proposing love, brings the Six of Cups of pure, innocent love and affection there. The Knight of Swords brings the Nine of Swords. So the Knight of Swords, being truth, information, and offering, proposing the truth, brings suffering and silence, stress, coming out of hiding, where secrets come out. Okay, but remember, with the truth, doesn't mean there's being love being brought with that truth. The Three of Cups and the Ten of Wands come up together, where the Three of Cups is coming together in joy, leads to the Ten of Wands, the Atlas energy, again, taking on other people's worries, carrying the weight of the world, and learning to set them down, learning to leave victim mentality behind. And again, that's the joy of coming together, then creates conflict, because there's, when you have more than two people, there's always going to be a disagreement there. It creates the weight of the world, because then you take on the burdens of your friends and family, and then have to learn to put those burdens down. The Five of Wands and the Eight of Pentacles. The Five of Wands is the groups and conflicts, sports and acting, may lead to the Eight of Pentacles, work, in order to learn skills to deal with others and perhaps manifest. The Page of Cups are the last, comes up and manifests the Queen of Cups. The Page of Cups is that pure, innocent love, the baby, the puppy love, the message of love or friendship, leads to the Queen of Cups, the loving adult. The Q with an open heart, or the Queen of the Four Queens with an open heart. So the Two of Cups was really coming up as bonding and understanding here. And also the Four Knights were coming up here. There was this energy through the repetition here of the Knights, that the Knights are bringing it upon others, whether it's the Truth Knight, whether it's the Manifestation Knight, right? Whether it's the Love Knight. They're putting it upon others, right? Where they can't tell other people what to do. They can only offer them the truth. So it's like the Ace of Swords. Here's presenting the truth, and you do with it what you want. Whereas the Knights kind of bring it in, right? They show up at your door with a delivery. So this was very significant, because as I was bringing this up, I realized it was if this, then that, which is basically the theory of relativity. And the colon was coming up as the line, right? Because the line's not really a line, it's two dots arced together in energy. And so, and this came up, I think, at my last read. The energy of the, all right, so the letter D is the line. So the two dots on either side is the arc. But this also is this. So it used to be M. This was M in ancient scripts, and now is also referenced as D. So these are all equal, which the M then equals the two lines or two dots, dot, 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 and the V in between, which is creation. But this also equals this, with the one line in the middle and the two parentheses, which represents the happy face on either side. Was also representing comedy and tragedy, which actually I didn't realize I used that little emoji to send something yesterday. So that'll come up more in my read as well. The other way this parentheses was coming up here was literally as parenting. So parenting is parent thesis. And there's this just showing you the arrows of going both ways, right? The circular or the spiral energy of the parents, one going this way and one going this way, in the parent thesis of balance and the theory of relativity. So now we get to the read on the table here. And let me see if it's out as much as it can be. Okay. So this was done at 1 o'clock yesterday, 11/9/2022. And I dealt the Journey of Love deck at 1 o'clock, and then the Metatron deck, Nature's Whispers and Shaman Dreams. The 4 piles at the end of each were 24, 13, 3, and 19. And the message of evens and odds were coming up here from the cards I just told you about. There was this energy of the even numbers is love, like water and the hexagon, and the odd numbers of light, not hex or perhaps the pentagon. I believe that the hex and pent work together. I think that came up from Dan Winter on Elena Danon's channel. The hexagon and the pentagons, how they work together. You know, you can't just have odd or even, they work together. That's the dance. So it was also bringing up a comparison to these decks. So the Journey of Love was coming up as the even love, or water and hex. The Metatron's deck was coming up as the odd, or the light, and not hex, or perhaps pentagon. The Nature's Whispers was coming up as abundance versus wealth, and the Shaman Dreams was coming up as inspiration versus desire. And again, desire and wealth have ego attached to them, whereas inspiration and abundance are different, right? It's taking the ego out of it. So at 1:11, I started transcribing this, and it started with the Queen of Wands. Omega, with the 24, is the Queen of Wands, which is also Omega, which is also the symbol for enlightenment when you get to the crown. The home of the feminine ego is Om-Ega. She needs to, the feminine energy, remember we both have feminine and masculine, but the more feminine needs to increase their ego, the masculine needs to decrease his ego in order to come together and match, right? Because he starts out at the root, she starts at the heart. But she doesn't do that by going down energy, she goes that by going up to the crown, and he then raises to the heart because of her lead. This was very significant energy information. So he at the root going to the heart, she at the heart going to the crown, each going 3 chakras up in the basic chakra system. And so when he humbles himself and becomes in his heart, then she crowns herself, her high vibe confidence. Her confidence in connecting with her higher self increases, and then that all comes together. The Queen of Wands transition to the Emperor, which was interesting too, because then my daughter was just coming in talking about Aries, and Queen of Wands could definitely be an Aries, and it's also the beginning of the astrological chart, which is the beginning, right? It's the first step, like the word. But also Aries energy can be very in your face and doesn't think first, they just leap. So the Queen of Wands transition to the Empress and abundance in the Sun, or the birthing of a son, where then the 4 queens and the Empress came up. Remember, the tarot deck starts with the wands, and then the cups, then the swords, then the pentacles, and then the Empress. And by the time you get to the Queen of Pentacles, you've incorporated all the other suits. And then if you choose so, you can take on the Empress role. So the Queen of Wands is the wands, which is the beginning of the deck, or the journey. The rising above the divine feminine distortion, or just the feminine distortion, not divine, but rising above the feminine distortions of being less than the masculine, where F for feminine also is digamma, or 2 rays of light, the twin flame, whereas the M equals the 2 I Ms of love creating together. So again, the feminine coming up as the light, the masculine coming up as love. But she was love starting out in the heart. Now she becomes the light. He starts out in the root and then becomes the love in the heart. So again, he reduces his fire and she increases her light fire, right? She increases her fire of inspiration as opposed to ego. But again, there's that energy of crowning herself. So there is that feminine ego coming up there and being attached to the crown. So the energy of the old paradigm going away, right, of the root and the heart, and now going to the heart and the crown, where he was the root of all evil and she was the heart or the love. Now he is the heart love and she is the crown light, pulling him up by his bootstraps, showing him the way with her light, Lady Liberty and the lighthouse, so Ellis knows where to go in order to be free. From desires to love and light, to manifestation, and then transcending the need or desire to manifest and stay in the middle. The humble, loyal servant of the higher self source connection. And there were guns firing like this whole next part. There's a police firing range not too far from here. And it always comes up at the most inopportune time. And they do it a lot on Sundays too. I'm like, I don't think Sunday morning is a great time to be firing guns. But anyway. So the need to stay in the middle here, the humble, loyal servant of the higher self source connection, serving through authentic love connection naturally. The death and the son of life, with the mother between, the daughter dark night, the mother and son in a happy little family. The Omega was coming up along with the sun, the ego aspect of the dark night and Lady Liberty. So remember, the sun naturally is ego for the masculine, but Omega is the Omega, so it's the divine feminine ego in the home of the Om. The aspect of the dark night of the masculine as the sun, and Lady Liberty as Omega. So then the four knights come up, the four horsemen, the night rider, the dark horse. That the four knights ride through each stage of the 1, 2, 3 jump. The leap, the seed that grows to the adept at something, learning, safety and security at the root, and then creation, and then at the solar plexus shining their light. If they make it to the heart or to the queen, it's over for her king, and her rooks standing guard naturally. I was just getting the song naturally. So all out of pawns, messages or directions, and spirits connecting with me, there's only the knight and queen who are left to their own devices and hooks, if you know what I mean. The king is K-I-N-G, like energy's direct current. But the knight has incorporated the nighttime of shadow aspect into that raw energy source, or in other words, alternating currents. The king doesn't move. He's immovable. But the night can take you for a ride. What a breath of fresh air, or inspiration and surprise at 140, which is the Magician and the Page of Cups. So at 141 is the Magician and the Page and the Ace of Cups of the Holy Grail. The underlying energy here of the 22 of loving all that is. And the 22 again of Archangel Sandalphon, of sandals and phones home. The 38 of acceptance of love, of the Queen of Cups, and the 51 of the King of Swords with stars in the sky and limitless possibilities. Two fools, she holding space and he serenading her with his song. Two open hearts, sweethearts of light and love, the Queen of Cups love and the King of Swords light, but he is now in his heart and she in her crown, as he holds her up in the highest esteem. But now it's not esteem, because I just went through the whole thing with sword and the stone and the word and the tone and all that kind of stuff. It's now esteem, D-E-E-E-M, E-S-D-E-E-E-M. So esteem now is esteem. Capital S of Sophia dash Deem, D-E-E-E-M. Which, by the way, D and M are already the same, which we established with the parentheses and the 1 in the middle. And then E all collapse to 1E, but since D is lacking one side of the parentheses to the M, then the one line of the E moves to that side and it becomes completely equal. All right, so here is the esteem. Let me just make it a little clearer there. Okay, so here's the esteem, as esteem becomes esteem, which we brought up already last read. So there's the Sophia of the Deem, and where M is the same as D, but D needs the other line on the other side because it's an abbreviated form. So then when the E's all smush together and become one E, you take that line off the E to put on the other side as the leap. And then you have the 3 lines, which means one equal and congruent to the other, and this is then what it looks like at the end. One equal and congruent to the other. And also esteem is because she says so. The 6 of 12 or half a dozen of the other. And by the way, they were still shooting. It was here at 1:45. The Magician and the Purge. Maybe it's supposed to trigger you, so you'll purge something out, so you'll reset. There's 2 perspectives here. The same gushy center. Again, the 2 sides of the coin, both looking to the middle. The same gushy center in the ND or NM Christ Sophia connection here. So the N comes up because for me, N has always been is Christ and is the half of the M, which is the Mary Magdalene, right? N is half of the letter M. So because the D is is not fully complete to be the M, then M actually becomes the N, which is the Christ. So here's where that Christ Sophia energy was coming up. The Jesus Mary Magdalene, or his Christed self. So she's literally coming up as his Christed self. So Jesus is his human and Mary Magdalene is his Christed self. The Christ Sophia, who ultimately birthed him, of course, because they're all the same line. Sophia birth is all the same lineage of Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Isis, etc. So Jesus is the J and Mary is the C of Christ and Sophia as he pursues the one above him. The Christ Sophia to the JC, Mother Mary, to the Jesus and Mary Magdalene. I Zeus and you dessert. For those of you who don't know, Magdalene is a dessert. Back to source, it's a type of cake. It's a scallop cake in France. So back to the source of love and light and wisdom of Christos Sophia. And it was funny too, because then I went to my names, my last names that I've adopted, not my maiden name, which is Cope, which is funny to cope with this. So my name now is Stainthorpe. So, you know, my kids have always been called Stain in the past, that kind of thing. So it's coming up that I got caught up in the stains in the village after having made a treaty. And it was coming up too from Christ and Sophia because my maiden name is C. Cope and my current name is Stainthorpe with an S. That's going back to my other name too, because I was married twice. Which ended up being the energy of the dear one, but also to disappear or vanish, to make a treaty. The super expensive bully with desires, right? Expensive meaning dear. Okay, so there's 2 ways of looking at dear. So dear one could be someone who's very sweet, but it also could be someone who's very expensive to satisfy because maybe they bully you and it's a big cost to you. The 208 was the high priestess or divine feminine, and the 8 of the dance was space between the underlying energies of the 42, which is the 2 of cups and the blood dance. After the 68 of the page of pentacles, perpetual student, learns to drop into their heart. So that's coming up as the masculine, moving from the root up to the heart. The Two of Cups after the Tower event, and then the Four of Simplicity, the Two of within nothing there is everything, and the simple man with the divine feminine of nature, for him to her, again the energy of 4 and 2 being the spaces between, for him to her, the 28 of the twin flames in the sacred convergence at 9/11 Memorial. And today it was 11/9. It's not today, but it was yesterday when I did this. The undoing of it all. So 9/11 is officially undone 11/9 yesterday. In a performance of a lifetime, as the angels at Lady Liberty meets with the Pleiadians at the Atlantean altar, at the Atlantic Sea, see with your eyes, your emotion, and the ocean, and the Christ unity consciousness, where Atlas and Hercules, or Master Ellis and Lady Liberty, short for Atlas and Hercules is AH, or and AKA the and the beautiful breeze, and Ellis and Liberty, which is EL, which is L, which is the right angle. So literally the twin flame two-eyed vortex of the quantum energy, the quantum or the QA session on the fool's journey of loving all that is. After the 7 of the water chariot, which is you are the vehicle of ascension that's made of mostly water. The 56 of the 2 of swords and the dance of the planets. And this card always looks to me like Paul and Linda McCartney. As the Queen of Pentacles and the Page of Pentacles, the 66 of the Golden Gates and the 68 of the perpetual student of life, like Jesus walking the earth. Coming together in the Golden Gate, with the Page of Pentacles dropping into their heart space, or the 2 of Cups, with the 2 and the 4, the spaces between the words, in sacred convergence with an open heart and leap of faith to hold space at 222, which is the guidance counselor show. So at 222 is the King of Swords, 51, being guided to dream a little here. The 46 of the 6 of Cups, inner children loving each other, hugging each other, perhaps with kids or twin flame, or a loved one, just for a moment joy. The 48 of the 8 of Cups, the man of earth and woman of the sky, laying down her hair in the vortex, so he can see the light at the end of the tunnel, because you exude light from the other planets. Rapunzel lets down her hair so that he can climb up, walking away and within, taking a nap or meditation, and then 24 cards then came up at the end of Omega and the Divine Feminine's crown. So 31 is the time we started as well. It was 231 of the group, or the chaos of life. One card came up, and it was just that one. The 31 is the chaos of the Christ flame, right? The old way of seeing Jesus as the sacrificial lamb, the sacrifice, or the one who took the hit for us. And then the 7 cards came up of the 64 of the sensual awakening in releasing the pain, not taking on the pain of others. The sensual awakening is Christ literally letting go of having to take responsibility for everybody else, or being the martyr. The 21, where she is the moon, she is whole, she is complete. Remember, we discussed that he is the Jesus, that Mary Magdalene is literally his Christ itself, his higher self. So she is his Christ. She is the moon, whole and complete. The 37 of the King of Cups of fire and ice, or FI, which is phi for me, which is reflection, or expanding and contracting, or staying in the middle and being more balanced, reflecting. The King of Cups is learning the center of unconditional love. The 70 of heaven projected on stage, dancing for all to see. The 2 by 2 dancing in the light with an experience, or expansive rippling effect. If this, then that. Seeing the shadows in the clouds, like I show you sometimes. Seeing the shadows in the clouds, watching the show, in the haze of the sun. Remember I said, not when it's clear out, but when you see a stroke of light, you know, whisper across a dog's body, it's in the contrast that you're able to see the 8 of the yin-yang lover bending over backwards to be more flexible. And then Teddy came in to interrupt me because he wanted me to come outside. So I went outside with him, being more flexible. At 233, which is the High Priestess and the 33 of the Christ Unity Consciousness. And then the next line was 244 after I took my little break with Teddy. 3344, which is my business. And at 244 is the Divine Feminine and the Hercules energy of being the pillar, which is the Queen of Swords, the 52 energy, but when she's being in her Lady Liberty mode. So, and I had a lot of energies coming up from the corner of my backyard too, which I tried. It was hard to post them because there's so much going on in the bushes. It's easy for me to see on my camera, but the picture doesn't translate well onto Instagram. So I don't know if the messages are fully getting through or not. But I try to put some kind of word message that comes right up from the picture, which is the message. And there's some pretty funny political messages that came up yesterday. So at 3:33, then 19 came up of the Shakti energy. The Shakti sun exposing the feminine side to get to the 40 of the Page of Cups. And remember, 40 is associated with Enki energy as well. The Page of Cups and the void, or the sunny Shakti, exposing the masculine side of her to get to the 40 Page of Pentacles and the void. 11 cards here. 11 being truth and balance and alignment. That was Seattle, Washington. Oh, that could be a message for someone. So the 11 cards of alignment with truth and balance, and the 33 of the Christ vibration, where God speaks as lovers do. So that was coming up right there. And what's her, Annie Knox, I want to say, but it's not right. But anyway, you know who I'm talking about. So that song came up. God speaks as lovers do. And then the 57 is the 3 of Swords. And the helicopter was over again at 3:36. The Empress and the Atlas energy of the weight of the world, but the masculine side, whereas the feminine comes up as Hercules, her harvest. So the 57 of the healing of the lovers in direct connect, looking up as the helicopter passes by. In the 5 of the communal dance of the moon, or at night, as the lovers or the earth stands, I was just getting the day the earth stands still, as the lovers or the earth stands between the moon and the sun. The 33 4D rainbow bridge, or the change in the community that's palpable here. The 14 of the falling light as a feather, like angels do. And the 15 as the mother prays, where we have now the angel and the devil here. The 54 of the earth angel, where the 5 and the 4 are the dance between stability and freedom, and the blanketing of the earth with the mercurial messages, God's messengers, to get ready to curl up for the winter. With the 67, the swan knight of pentacles, and the 29, 3 of wands being present to the spiral dance of the goddess, the gift of being a giver of life, as a divine feminine who can give life to others. The 50 of the 10 of cups, of that 10 of cups happy family, and the cloak of the Father, right, giving that happiness to him. The 60 of the 6 of swords, finding peace, riding the wave unprotected, riding at the front railing of the Titanic, like they did together on the Titanic, riding at the front railing of the Titanic, proportion, boldly going where no human has gone before, straight to the heart of God, as the hermit, one and all. And then 5 cards came up. And 5 is again change, freedom, and expansion. And the Hierophant with the 24 of Omega in the spaces between the words. The word, divine masculine, the silence between divine feminine, the 43 of the bride offering herself and coming together in the chaos, not knowing what to expect, and yet knowing all is well. At 347, which is the Empress and the Seven of Cups of seeing synchronicities or heaven in your eyes, the 34 of becoming, in energetic exchange or back and forth or doing the dance, the weaving of the arrows of love and direction. The 27 of the Ace of Wands, of the etheric touch of new passion or inspiration, or rather here, sensuality is more of the feminine sexuality, right? Where passion is ego, sensuality is more etheric. The 59 of the Five of Swords and the ending of the war in the temple at Lady Liberty, the official marriage, God's marriage of the twins in the etheric temple called Mother Nature, which I've already established. I forget who brought this up. It might have been Cryon, that Mother Nature isn't just the earth, it's the entire atmosphere and the planets, right? So you have the source, the point, the masculine, and then the feminine is everything else. So, so again, it's just everything always reflects. So whereas the man is considered the everything and the feminine is nothingness, on the other side, it's the other, where the man is the point and the feminine is the everythingness. So everything reflects in opposites and dances within itself. The 351 of the Empress and the 51 of the King of Swords. The underlying energy here of the Page of Cups and the 40 again. Perhaps of that innocent, pure love, the 40 days and 40 nights, or perhaps Enki coming up here again after settling the debts of his brother, in birthing the new heart, the 7 of the Water Chariot, that you are ascending to new heights in energetic exchange with your ancestors, again the Anunnaki being your ancestors, and the Knight of Cups Emerald Heart healing to get your wishes to come true, with the family in a meet and greet. So some of you could be going to meet with the family, not only for Thanksgiving, but you may be going to meet someone's family. And that could be your children as well. The 25 of the Knight of Wands and passion and the love for life, firing up the one who's holding space for Archangel Sandalphon to serenade you and make a fool of themselves, lovingly. The first card out next was then Atlas, the 36, and the weight of the world of the inner child, to hear and know me. And that always brings me to the Christmas Carol Muppet movie, to hear and know me. The 11, and it reminds me of the Green Mile too, right? The big guy who was very in touch with his heart. The 11 of the Justice, Truth and Balance, the space between, and the alignment of the clarion call to listen and take note. Here we have the 22 and the 11, the 5D station, the jump off point, and the 11 of instant manifestation of all that is. So again, referencing that masculine point and then Mother Nature. The 2 angels, Sandals and Gabriel, sharing their inner children, play and sing to wake the divine feminine light body. The 38 of the Queen of Cups, activating the collective to lay down their hair as he would his cloak. The divine feminine's preparing the earth for his presence. And you can take that both ways. His being present and the gifts that he might bring. The second coming, or the coming full circle, or the spiral, I should say. The 41 of the Ace of Cups and that Holy Grail, returning for the Holy Grail. The reflecting pink weeping willows, with the 52, the other side of the 44, the Queen of Swords with priorities, Lady Liberty of Light, to stand tall with angel wings, the big bird, an activated chakra system, seen off planet as our light and wings, with 9 cards of the 9 of the Hermit. So not only were there 9 cards, but the first card was the Hermit, the 9, running with the big bird shadow, taking flight or flights. As a bird, it's a plane. No, it's supernova man or super indigo man. The 21, or completion, coming full circle of wholeness, or your indigo daughter connecting to your double diamond star, perhaps now relating to you. The mystery and masteries of life. Or the axis of Virgo and Pisces coming up right here, of the 1 of the Hermit and the all of Pisces. And the 10 of the high vibe destiny of the Sun and the Sun. S-U-N and S-O-N, and the new dawn for everyone. 9-10 begin again. 2 suns rays, the 43 of coming together for healing hands and to pause to receive joy, with the 37 of the King of Cups, or unconditional love, and perhaps needing here some unconditional love in order to get them to look up. The 14 of patience and boundaries here to set daily, using your auric keys. Remember, boundaries is really about being patient and balanced. It's not about building a wall. It's about using nature and love and energy as boundaries, right? To keep your vibration high, to not pull in energies that you don't want to deal with, and to be patient with others. So the 14 of the angels and boundaries to set daily, using auric keys or things that have energy, and nature on the sine wave path, so the weaving back and forth to the sun, the 15 of the shadow side, and showering in diamond light to shed light or clarity on the shadow aspects that need to come up. Where 14 and 15 here are together again, the angel and the devil, in order to become balanced. Time out and time in. The 48 of these 8 of cups, of walking away and within to the void, to go within to the symbol of the void, the 30, the Om. The 30 being the home or the union with the crown on top, to Om, or home for rest. And then the 2 cards came up, which is the 2 of the divine feminine, but it was also coming up as the wisdom, having the wisdom with the 12 here of the sweet spot. 2 cards, and then 12 to open a book or Akashic records. Exercise nature, then heal and more nature, then meditate, shower, and go to bed and read or tap into the Akashic records. Night, night, to prepare for orange to gold on the tree of life, orange being the orangutan or the ego, to the gold of the God, the ancient one, the 47 of the heart to the crown, the sweet spot of the 4 to 7, with fresh fruits and veggies and blessings and thanks as your journey towards Thanksgiving. Let them eat bread. At 424 is the Emperor and the 24 of the Queen of Wands, the underlying energy of the 3 of the Empress and celebrating your differences, and the 44 of Hercules and seeking beauty within as the pillar Hercules, who is Lady Liberty, knowing about her 11 candles of alignment, truth, and balance, brings dear ones attention. In the water, swim. So when you're in your emotions, go with the flow. The Empress and the Queen of Swords, or the mother and daughter, the 41, the Holy Grail, of the heart womb energy in service to the little ones, teaching them like the octopus teacher on how to blend in, how to covet your stuff when negative energies attack. The 15 of catching your breath and hugging a tree, but here this time it wasn't 14 and 15 of the angel and the devil, but 41 and 15, which is the reverse of 14, the Holy Grail and the shadow. So instead of the angel and the devil, it's now the angel on earth and the devil, or the shadow, the 45 of the purge, as needed to empower and reset yourself. The 6 of the lovers, now seeing the big picture of healing the root to flower the crown. The 38 of the Queen of Cups, acceptance of love, of a handsome stranger that you know very well. Hugging the tree again, and that can be the stability of home, mom and dad, or just the home fires, the family, or your twin. And the 1 of the 27 of the Ace of Wands to maintain your childlike spirit, while being the 28, the twin flames, of preparing the harvest. The 35 of the Wounded Warrior in their culmination of their vision, with now 3 cards of the Empress and Abundance, where we're leaving the Wounded Warrior behind as the 25 Knight of Wands is coming in to keep your dreams alive as the blue baby blows a kiss. The 34 of energetic exchange and vulnerability of the little girl floating on a leaf after 11 candles, and the pinky peachy moon or tired after a kids' party, and allow some time for rest. The 9 of the Hermit, to then paint a pretty picture of the perfect setting or becoming more creative again. Or the Mother, taking care while the daughter rests. So again, once the mother's all healed from her dark night, perhaps that when the daughter goes into dark night, or she's been, but now the mother can allow her to have some time to herself. At 4:35 is the Emperor and the 35 of the Wounded Warrior, the underlying energy of the 54 of the Page of Swords, Mercury, crossing over to Eden, which is vapor or your breath. The 60 of the Peace of the Totems, or the Tyon, the Tiger Lioness, watching together on piggyback to enjoy the show. The 59 of the Wailing Tree and Reconciliations, this is the war within the family tree, where the grandparents now are enjoying the others having to attend, they're watching the others attend to the crying child, but they don't have to do it anymore. The 41 of the Ace of Cups of that Holy Grail energy of the Moon Maiden with new beginnings, where Hercules is holding the moon. So she is the Hercules holding the moon, where the masculine holds up the earth, deep in emotions, while the 51 King of Swords sits in the middle of the bridge at night meditating on the stars with limitless possibilities. The first card here of the 55 of the Truth, Excalibur, the Holy Grail, not the Holy Grail, but the truth of the farther gate. The rocks and the stones and the swords that come, a bold step forward for humans. 2 gates and 2 suns, and the 38 of the Queen of Cups with the many masks of their authentic multitasker self, releasing anxieties with the 62 of the imprisonment of the will-o'-the-wisp treasures that are hidden in the shadows after experiencing them. And this was at 4:40 to 41, the Page of Cups to the Ace of Cups. And I forgot to do my neck rolls, so I was doing them, releasing the neck. So again, that was coming up from my Edgar Cayce book. It's actually for eye health, or if you have eye issues, to do the head rolls. 3 forward, 3 back, 3 to the side, 3 to the other side, and then 3 rolls in one direction and 3 rolls in the other direction. And remember to do this slowly. You may have some kinks, especially first thing in the morning. And I had a kink in my left shoulder, which is almost gone. It's not completely gone, but I can totally roll my head in both directions now where I couldn't before. The first card out here is a tidy house and with clarity and organization. And that's different for everybody. It's all in your perspective and what your abilities and loves are. We had the 4, the 58, the 28, and the 23 here, which is the Emperor with an opportunity for the 58 of the twin flame connection to smash the particles. Again, the twin flame is the natural CERN. So you need to discern and be yourself. The 58 of the 5D connection to smash those particles. The ego mirror in the 5D connection. The 28 of the twin flames in the hollow bone, which is the reference of humbling oneself to be the student of letting go and just running through it. Letting love run through it. To be the student of letting love run through it. The 23 of the King of Wands with Fortune's Wheel, luck and right timing, and 9 cards again coming up here of 3, 50, 21, 57, 2, 45, 11, 44, and 63. Where the Hermit, the Empress, and the 10 of Cups happy family, whole and complete, healing the divine feminine, purging from 11 to 44, so referencing from your soul to your life lesson, to end the suffering and silence and the stress, the abundant munchkins cuddling in the mushroom, and the 50 of the 10 of Cups family and the spirit of the river, where they're happily flowing underwater with their hearts open wide to take their first breath. Again, the perpetual new student of being in that energy, of being that wide-eyed student, right? Eager to learn, to keep your heart open. The 21 of the wholeness, the completeness, also Pisces energy at the end of the astrological chart. being whole and complete with the beginner's mind, the 57 of the Three of Swords and the unmarked trail, with the pressure on and the need to get there, through the amazing grace, or G race, God's race, the two of the Divine Feminine beloved with radical acceptance of their heart on fire, with a love for life. I was just getting The Amazing Race and like 80 Days Around the World again, you know, the movies. So beloved with the radical acceptance of the heart on fire, lighting a fire to get going, the 45 of the Five of Cups of purging and repairing the veil with forgiveness and purging the story of your life between the pages, the articulation, creating the binding, the weave, and the articulation. The 11 of the deep quiet of meditation and stillness and alignment. The 44 of the perfect storm. So again, here's that 11 to 44, which is referencing going from your soul of being in your heart, but elevating up to the crown as the pillar, the perfect storm, and the courage to step into life. When under pressure with too much fire or ego, to purge and weave. And I was getting and bend and snap. That's Legally Blonde for those of you who aren't familiar. To make amends with patience and balance, or having faith that all is well. 11 to 44. Remember, 11 is 6D manifestation. 44 is the peak of the 3D, where then we have the 38 of the Queen of Cups to the 52 of the Queen of Swords, both love and light, both Mary Magdalene and Lady Liberty, and the Pillar of Strength. The ravenous peacock. And in the Wild Unknown Tarot, it's all about, or it's actually the guidebook. The peacock is both beautiful within and without. On the eagle's perch, or the city of brotherly and sisterly love. The S word of sister and storm, where storm is torm, and torm is storm or tower. And orm, which is a worm or a snake. Or on me, that it is upon me. The snake's head is now upon me. The RM of fish, to cry or weep. Again, Jesus' tears of the returned missionary. To your room, young man. Sophia's tower of the snake upon me, and the fish to weep, returned missionary. The storm, the path of the snake or the worm. The Queen of Cups standing strong as Hercules and therefore becoming the Queen of Swords, 4 to 7 of the heart to crown, Lady Liberty. The 63 of the suffering and silence in the winter's dream, the gestation period like a pregnancy, or the hibernation of the hibernation. In jest, hyper cold, burr, a time to cuddle or hunker down for the winter. The 5 cards here of change and freedom, and the 20 of feast of plenty, of choices and their consequences. And that's that wake-up call. T for 2, and wake-up call for preparations. The 42 of the Two of Cups, 1 to 1, and the 12 of the Hanging Man and the Dragon's Hoard, to be wise to protect the future. There was a heart key and a capital F key in this picture that I hadn't noticed before, and it was coming up as being and deaf to key, so somebody could be tone deaf, or C and F of the C of the whispering bench, and the F of the digamma, the 2 rays singing the blues, and goldens. The 34 of the 8 of Wands energetic exchange with the King of the Hill and the Lay of the Land, able to see the crop circles in a single bound. And there's the binding of the pages together. The Ark of the Covenant. And then Uluru was coming up in Ayers Rock, but I looked up after that because in the picture, it doesn't look like Uluru. It looks like something else, but the colors are of Uluru. So I looked up to see if I could find a rock that was the same shape as in the picture, and I did, but it's so weird anyway that the Ark of the Covenant came up because I just brought to you the energies this morning regarding Ethiopia and Burma, because they say that Burma is where they hold the Ark of the Covenant. I found was it Burma? I think it was Burma and not Ethiopia, but I found somebody's notes about an article they were writing, and they were traveling there. And they were talking about the places they stopped to visit. So yeah, maybe it was Ethiopia. Okay, that's what I thought. So in Ethiopia, so they're supposed to have the Ark of the Covenant in Ethiopia, and it is said to be preserved in the Holy of Holies in one of its churches. And this is Axum, where I told you about Azana that came up in the shadow on the dog today. That tradition rules, only one appointed monk from the adjacent monastery is permitted to enter the Holy of Holies and offer prayers in front of the Ark. There is, and I also noticed a quote-unquote rock, lioness rock, in that same article in that area in a quarry, but I don't know if it was that city or not. The Chapel of the Tablet was also described, the church where the Ark housing the tablets of the Ten Commandments is said to be kept. So again, that was coming up. So so the Ark of the Covenant came up here, and it came up again this morning through that research I did. So Ethiopia's coming up big. The flag came up on Teddy's butt, and that was very clear. It just could have been either, but I think it's Ethiopia. It had like more of like a open star as opposed to the Burmese star. But so Uluru came up, and then I looked up the other rock. And so in doing that, I also noticed in news, Indigenous voice in Parliament there in Uluru, in the Uluru Statement. And also Red Rocks Amphitheater in Morrison, Colorado came up, as well as Haystack Rock in Oregon. So that's the one that was the same shape as the rock. So the Haystack Rock in Oregon, or Cannon Beach, as well as Uluru are coming up here. And then the Devil's Tower showed itself as well in Wyoming, Black Hills, which came up referencing the hexagon shape. And at Haystack Rock in Oregon is where the puffins are, the parrots of the sea. They're so cute. They waddle and they look tipsy, so people love to see them. But they're mostly out at the sea, so you don't always see them. But apparently they're on this rock because it's right on the water, so they live on the rock. And they use these telescopes to see them from the beach. So after the feast, casting a net, hanging with dragon in the energetic exchange, and I was also getting in the aftermath. After feast, casting a net, hanging with the dragon in the aftermath, or an energetic exchange with the land, and sacred contract of the chariot, which is you, which is also the 7, which is the key, which is the gamma ray, which is the scroll. You are the scroll of the covenant. Well, that's cool how that came through. So I didn't have that last one when I wrote it. So that was the end of that read. And then I went on this morning to get all that other information. So I looked up what I thought were the letters on my dog. And it looked like Wanu, W-A-N-U, but I looked up W-H-A-N-U as well, which is only spelled with A-U at the end. So Wanu came up as the afterlife and the new moon, as well as the number 8 and coconut. And Wanu with W-H-A-N-A-U was extended family, again referencing all the extended family here of the lineage, whether they're on or off planet. So everything was coming together. And again, Sophia was coming up as well with Axum. and Izana. And Izana also looks like Asian, AIZAN. So there's an Asian reference there as well as Africa. And again, like I said, Burma coming up, or Myanmar, which was also referencing Queen of Sheba. So she may have been coming up in reference to Izana as well in different countries. So I'll have to look into that some more. And again, there was an alert that came up. So I looked to see if there were any associations between Ethiopia and Burma right now. And also an article came up from the atrocity alert number 325, Ethiopia, Burma, and Yemen. Excuse me. And it was reporting currently of 10 weeks of intense fighting and then finally coming to some kind of agreement on November 2nd this year regarding a lot of human rights and atrocity issues. Again, there was an airstrike on 11/3/22 that killed 40 people in the Tigrayan town of Meichu, which cracks me up because my son's nickname is Chu because he couldn't say Matthew when he was little, so he'd say Machu. So here's Meichu, which is very similar to that. And the agreement, so I looked into it further just to see what's going on because I don't know what's going on over there. But the aviation fuel by foreign companies was going to the military in Burma. So even the civilian gas was getting to the military. They were taking it instead. And again, facilitating the commission of war crimes. And that was stated by Amnesty International. So, so one of the companies, Singapore company, had announced in October that they'd be leaving Burma, so they wouldn't be feeding into that anymore. There's a lot of other American and other gas companies who are still there. And there was another article I came across from October 4th, 2012, which was called Burma's Hidden War, and it referenced U.S. and Canada and had to do with blood and gold and all that kind of stuff. All right, so where are we? It's 1:21. I'm surprised how long this message came. I wasn't expecting it to take this long. All right, so I brought up the wild unknown, so I'm going to pull from that for our oracles. Breathe. And I had to say Anu was coming up too. So not only Enki, but Anu. So definitely our Anunnaki ancestors were coming up. And remember, both the Anunnaki and the Pleiadians both have dark and light. They're not all one or the other. And we have all of these energies in us. They seeded us. So our origins may not come from them. As the original non-humans on the planet, from all the information I've collected and compared, that Cryon had said that we were seeded at about 200,000 years ago. But the beings on the planet had been there way before then. They just were seeded to become humans around 200,000. And then by around 50,000 years ago, we were ready to do Lemuria as humans. So again, but you have Anunnaki, you have reptilian in you, there's all, we're mutts down here, right? Unless you're coming in direct as a walk-in, right, as a starseed. So let's see here. All right, we have the dragonfly, the two as one energy, and the lightness of mind is what I'm getting. The lightness of mind, I am getting that fairy energy, like the twinkling energy. Right? Gossamer wings, that kind of energy here. It's connected with the stingray who's plugged in and more grounded. So again, the etheric energy and the grounding effect being plugged in. And I always talked about that the arcs at the bottom of the ocean are acting like grounding plugs, for the arcs that are up at the Ark of the Covenant for the Ark of the not the Federation, but the Confederation. The Confederation ship that Elena Danaan talks about at Jupiter, you know, guiding the balancing act here of Anunnaki energies of Enlil and Enki and Anu, the father. So you can watch Elena for that information. But again, it's when I get cards like this, it's confirming that stuff, which is why I bring it up to you. So, and again, the etheric energies of the lightness of mind, and then the groundedness needs to be plugged in order to stay grounded to the earth. So again, the Confederation ship came in at the same time the arcs were found and activated, because it's like being plugged in and needing that third grounding cord. Yep, so definitely the grounding energy, and then the taking flight energy here. And then the energy of the shark attack here. What came up regarding that? The shark is headed towards the turtle who's slow. Right? It's like that no man left behind. So this is, I'm getting JP, right? The one who goes down to the arcs, the military. And there's the turtle, you know, like the ark down below at the bottom of the ocean. And then there's the frog, right, who wants to become a prince. He's in the rain being too slow, and because the shark is coming, he's worried he might not catch up in time, might be too late. And then there's the tiger. All of a sudden the frog becomes the tiger, right? It's not that he's being attacked. He's got the tiger on one side, the shark on the other, and this can literally be the shark turtle and the tiger frog. I'm getting the Tigris River as well. And that was part of the name in Ethiopia of the other. It's in Ethiopia, like a civil war type of energies. I don't know what they call it, but what is the name? It's TIG. I wrote it down here somewhere. I think it's on this side. So they're the ones who are fighting. TIGRAYA is the area in Ethiopia, you know, fighting against the Ethiopian government. So Tigraya, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. But again, the Tigris River also coming up here. So again, these two. So the grounding plug is plugged in to the shark or the water ark, who's really slow and stays grounded. Well, the frog is pulling in the tiger on the other end. And then there's the whale as well. All right, so we have two. This is being surrounded in the water, the ark. Right, it's the energy of like the tiger and the lion, the masculine, the feminine, or vice versa. Right, because here's coming up as the masculine, the frog that needs to become the prince, and then the tiger. Right, the tiger of the lioness, and then that's coming up as meeting the whale or the lioness, the divine feminine on the other side. And this one may be older than this one. That could be coming up as well. Okay. And the tiger is also the white Bengal tiger, who's the one who leaps through the ring of fire with a mighty roar. And there may be, again, here is the whale over here, and there may be nervous stomach here, or perhaps there's an undercurrent there of a new birth of something. So it can be anxiety, or just, you know, this could be a little one as well, a new one, a newborn, or maybe someone's newly pregnant, or birthing a new union. Okay, this could be a fish out of water. So maybe the kids are now awakening and being fish out of water. And now you have something to turn to as part of the collective awakening. But instead of top down, like the other cards, it's from the side on the ground here in the collective awakening. The bottom of the deck is the crow, which came up as Teddy the other day, standing guard at the window, grounding, helping us ground as the grid holders. Okay, and then there's the cheetah before that. So again, there's a bit of ego energy here, ready to attack, but don't worry, no worries, because the crow is on guard to let you know what's going on. And that can be this military energy, like JP too, have been down to the arcs and things like that. And also this is coming up as being wound up energy, right? Like I was excited this morning. I'm getting that energy, right? And then the pet's actually helping you to ground as well when you get really high vibrational, right? And that excitement energy. Okay, I do want to pull something else too. Let's see what I have for you guys. Let's do the energy deck. That came right out, flipped right out, all tied up. So 23 is the King of Wands, and maybe playing coy, right? This is a masculine who may be going into his feminine, or a feminine going more into their masculine, playing coy, right? She's not really struggling there, right? Tied up. She's pretending like she's unavailable, or she's, you know, she's got her hands tied. But again, there's that energy of the fairy tale princess, right? And waiting for their prince to come rescue them. And then here is adjacent possibilities, right? That can't be the only way. And you don't have to go up or down, but there's other horizontal choices here at the 24 point, which is the omega at the crown. There's adjacent possibilities. We also have the 21 here, or the 22 here rather, of the yin yang energies, the perfect balance, right? There has to be another way besides the old way of victim mentality. And again, the King of Wands and the Queen of Wands, which, you know, you start the deck out with, and that's that ego energy of the root. And this is summarizing that we're going from the King and Queen of Wands at the root to clear the ego and come into balance on the Fool's journey, as opposed to the Wounded Warrior's path. So we're changing paths here. We're going from the Wounded Warrior's path of victim mentality, allowing saviors and perpetrators, and taking back the responsibilities of the victim in the middle, to then shift both ends to bring the outliers in and have a more balanced or heavenly earth. The 22 is the Fool's journey, with an open heart and a leap of faith in perfect balance. Yep, and one more, and there's that perfect balance. So they're also referencing the 4 to 7 of the sweet spot, from the heart chakra to the crown chakra, and the thinking woman here, and then opening a book. And again, her mission statement coming up here. Finding balance at the top, at the crown. And then this one wants to come out too, the end, the 21 of the world, of wholeness and completion, and the strategy or the story to tell. Right? The fairy tale at the end of the story, the happily ever after. The bottom of the deck is the blossoming abundance, the 3 of the Empress and abundance, and Mother Nature here, and the sun. There you go. The mother, the sun, and the mother. Okay, this could be vacation time in the sun as well, or just time in the sun for the masculine, and then the feminine abundance here of Thanksgiving and all that energy that's coming up right now. This is very blessed energy here of Thanksgiving. That's the underlying energy. So really nice energies there, you guys. Remember your water, your rest, your nature, your joy. Follow your own instincts at 3333. And rise and be love, you guys. I'll see you guys soon. Have an amazing day. Don't forget to breathe, inspire.